ISC, we always do what we call the Regional Students Convention, and those happen in the different regions where School of Tomorrow is present. And in our case, we've been doing Uganda National Students Convention. Lately, I think it's now turning to East African Students Convention. So if it's after it's after a student qualifies at the regional that they make it to the international. It's not a must that whoever participates in the regional automatically goes. You have to, of course, get medals in certain in your activities for you to be able to qualify. And usually a total on average of like 4,000 young people worldwide will qualify in the regionals and qualify to go to the International Students Convention. And in these conventions, there are different categories where people are, where the young people are exhibiting their talents in music, in oratory, in art, in athletics, and in academics, and many other aspects. I'll be able to unpack these as the presentation continues. But to sum it all up, what the students learn as they prepare on this journey, there's a lot of life lessons learned. They learn the power of dedication. They learn operational excellence, like Reverend said. We strive to give our best. So there is also, you learn patience, you learn to commit, you learn leadership skills. I'll also, as the presentation goes, give live examples of what I saw other students' testimonies talk about and what I also saw Elisha exhibit. So yes, if you have any questions, you can keep them coming in the chat. Right here, this is I would say, one of those pictures that I think, and this was at the very start of the convention. All students from all walks of life are required to come present their cultural wear, and on that day, you should have brought something from your home country that you gift a student with, and they're usually things to do with your country, maybe flags. The Ugandan team went with the bracelets that have our flag on them, and those little artifacts that represent our country. And from the very beginning, I think they saw that Uganda came in with a boom. There was just something in the air about Uganda, and you could feel, you could even hear the key speakers. They were like, wow, this team, there is something different about it. I can see a light on this team. So I think in the spiritual realm, we were buzzing, and also in the physical as well. So that picture to me, like the theme says, made to make a difference. That was the theme of the students' convention for this year. But when I look at these young people that are getting to be leaders of tomorrow, what comes to my mind is Obama's speech about change. She said, change will not wait for some other time or some other person, but we are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. So these young people here, I see in them, they already know, yes, we are here to change the world. We are here to change the nation. So I just wanted to share with you some iconic pictures, and I think this is one of them. Okay. Then I'll get into the tips of how do we get started with on our journey. Sorry, was that a question? I think it was just someone who was not muted. Okay, tips of how to get started on this journey of getting us to the level of success that we saw Team Uganda exhibit. It just never happened overnight. And actually, as I was talking to my son and just to get his views, and he was like, you know what, these students, most of them almost go for this ISC, most especially the ones that stay in America. For them, ISC is not a one-time event like us. for them, they can choose to go every year. And because to them it is something common, something that they've taken for granted, they don't put a lot of preparation into it. Maybe they just wake up and within 2 months they are preparing and then they move. Whereas for us, it's something precious and we put a lot of time in it. And of course, we get there and shine. So it brought to me mostly the aspects of maybe how at times we treat the word of God. It's so much there, it's so available, and at times we take it for granted. And yet someone out there yearning, maybe in a country where it is not as guaranteed as us, will take it and grab it and run with it. And before we know it, they are much better people than us who are very privileged. So I got a learning in that place, in that way of not taking things for granted. So tips of getting started, this is how Team Uganda did. First and foremost, we as parents at the very start, they shared, we got the event lists and we had to sit with the students, sit with your child, and then just pick your child's brain, what it is that you want to do. But then, and at that point, we are also provided with the handbooks that have the guidelines of the convention. So you kind of have to read through. But at times, okay, what I realized with us, because we're maybe first-time parents going through this, we didn't even give the guidelines that much attention. We just dived into the event lists, and then we were just choosing anything at random. So, but here, maybe one thing I would advise is as we get these event lists, we should also be able to read through other guidelines. But at times, these guidelines are also hard for a first-time parent to read through. So this is where maybe a parents' meeting can be organized at Shoma early enough to take the parents through, maybe just give them a brief highlight of what the guidelines for each activity are, so that the parents exactly know what their children are getting into. And also in this meeting that is held earlier on, in these preparations, the parents get to know what costs are involved, and the costs are really high. It's not a cheap thing. So we also come up with payment terms on how, maybe on a monthly basis, how much can the parent commit, so that they are able at the end of the day to meet the target. So all those, this is what we went through, maybe just to exactly let you know how much we were paying for this convention. We did pay $5,500, but we were paying it on a monthly basis. They would give you how much to pay on a monthly. If you could manage to pay all of it at a go, if you could manage to pay all, maybe more than what is required in a particular month, that was very fine. But they made it in those manageable chunks. We paid it over a period of 8 months, but it was still, you could really still feel that it was a heavy cost, but at least you knew it was something worth it. The other thing, it's not only, I would say, that money that we paid, because there were those other additional costs you as a parent, you have to incur, the transportation of getting your child at the training venues, that is not part of that money. At times you're required to get your own private coach if the activity is not one of those that are held corporately at school. There are those individual activities, the solo ones, where you need to get a personal coach for your students. So all those costs on top of that money, you have to be, there are voices coming through. Maybe if we could mute the others, please. Then the other aspect is the school finds a qualified, the school has to find a qualified, and not only qualified, but a dedicated team of sponsors and coaches. The sponsors and coaches we had for our convention were I would say very, very dedicated. This is a team that had their normal jobs ongoing, but you could see that when it was time for trainings, they would really come in and give their best. And also part of that money that we were paying was also partly to meet, I wouldn't say their cost, because what they gave was not even worth what we put in, but at least to meet a bit of their upkeep. So all that is part of this money, the ones that the 5,500 that we're paying, part of the tickets in there, the bills, everything is wanted to bring out. Okay, there's some noises that are coming through. You can please mute.
So what is your
Thank you. Okay, then the other aspect is about sponsors and coaches. Sponsors and coaches have to really read through these convention guideline handbooks. I remember at some point while I was sharing the videos, Carol was making mention of the running kit. Why are they putting on skirts? Where they dressed in a particular way? All these guidelines are actually in those convention handbooks. And if you happen to not abide by some of those guidelines, you would actually be disqualified, yet you are a very maybe competent team. Like when you look at the sports kits that they had inside, they were very comfortable shorts. And then around, maybe it was like a wrapper that was more flexible. And I think it's just for the young woman to be decent and maybe not to cause a lot of distraction. So all those dressing code, even how you cut your hair, how it's all those are in those guideline books. So it's very crucial that these guidelines are really read and understood. And maybe just to talk more about still the guidelines, how it cost me at some point. Maybe I just didn't know what the guidelines really meant. We started on a musical piece with Busingye. It was one of those things he was doing solo, a male piano solo. With I got him a coach, a personal coach, and they picked on their piece and they practiced that. It was a very difficult, beautiful piece, which they practiced for I think close to 4 months. And so on the day of presenting to the main coaches at school, they said, no, this song will not pass. Because still, when you read through the guidelines, only that I didn't know better then, when you read through the guidelines, it talks of what kinds of songs, and I think it's all to bring glory and honor to the Lord. Our song was, I wouldn't say it was secular, and it was just a classical piece, but it was not passing. So our 5 months, the time we put in there, I think it was 4 months, the time, the money, the everything, we had to start all over again, look for a piece that was fitting the what was required. And so we had like 1.5 months to convention. So and the coach told me, he has to put in like minimum 6 hours a day for him to learn this piece. That's when we completely pulled out of school and concentrated. So at times, if we don't understand these guidelines, maybe we have to go back to the coaches and the coaches, the sponsors to guide us. So I saw it cost us a bit there, but anyway, it was a lesson learned. Let me see, where am I? Okay, sponsors and coaches. At that point, you look through the preliminary list that the children have chosen, look through their activities, see whether they pass, and maybe at that point, you can start off with the training. Also, encourage the student participation in fundraising for convention. This one we didn't do as Team Uganda, but I learned this from Mr. Ochola of Shoma for all the previous conventions where there were such drives, fundraisings. So that is also good. It builds a skill of the students. The other aspect we should be mindful of is set deadlines for the non-performance activities. There are those activities we call non-performance. You don't get on stage to perform, but you will do it as time goes on, and it's in preparation for convention. Most of those actually written work, like a short story, like Busingye had a short story in there. He had to scribe. I'll talk about the scribe later on. There are so many activities like photography, the paintings, the sewing, the arts. So it is better we set earlier deadlines for this, so that much later we have enough time for other platform events like music, like all those other things. So yeah, that is also a lesson learned that students, along with their coaches, should learn to make their calendars and know when some activities start and end. Then also the other thing I learned is encourage dry runs. Dry runs are for those activities that are performance-based, and you can practice, do those dry runs either at our local churches, or you can also have a special meeting for parents that you showcase what is really going to happen. Shoma is already doing this. We can see that's happening, but it's also encouraged further. Then the last bullet on this slide is pray, 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 encourage, check on the student, on their progress. So yeah, that was for the tips. My next slide, this slide here is the theme for the entire conventions. All conventions have one theme, but every year there is a special theme. For this year, the special theme was to make a difference, but the theme for the ISC throughout is where else does 1 week last a lifetime. So here, still, I wanted to share some photographs. There are some stories behind each photograph. So on this very photograph here, Busingye here was winning an award on this is called the Golden Apple Award. And Golden Apple Award is one of those events which do not have any other place apart from first place. Once you do it, you're assured of a first place. There is no second, there is no third, there is no fifth, there is only one first place. But they're very, I would say they're very difficult events, they are godly events. So Golden Apple Award is you memorize the entire book of Proverbs, you memorize it, make a video of yourself, have the judges look at your video and ensure that, yeah, you did really memorize this and you memorized it right, and then they sign off your affidavit. So why I put this picture here, there is a story to it. So on this award, Busingye goes ahead, memorizes his 31 chapters, recording them on the tablet. They share that tablet with all the siblings. They use that one tablet. So as he was done with his 31st chapter, and he wanted to send to me so that I can maybe just go through it, make sure he's done it right, he checks and the first 25 chapters are not there anymore. And he's wondering where is all the work I've been doing, and he can only see chapter 26 to 31. Then he starts panicking. So he sends me those 6, and he's really looking for the first 25 chapters. Meanwhile, it took him like 2 months, I think, to put all these things together, memorize it, to video it. Anyway, it was all gone. So we discovered Atamba, the 9-year-old. I think he wanted to use the tablet for his thing. He discovered it was clogged. There are these videos that to him were not, I think he didn't know even who had put them there. So he went in there and deleted, just pressed delete and wiped it all off. So Busingye comes and he has nothing. So he comes to me, and that's when we realize, oh, it's Atamba who deleted these things. And his defense is, well, I checked. I didn't know it was someone's work. I thought someone had downloaded videos and I wanted to free up space. So anyway, at that point, I just wanted to get Atamba, shake him on the side, upside down, as in I was really mad. But Busingye looks at me and tells me, you know what? I still remember what I memorized. Don't worry, I am going to record this again. We will have it. Wow, I looked, I was like, wow, this calmness, this, but he could remember each and everything. And he sat down, I think within 3 weeks, because he wouldn't do this all day, within 3 weeks, we had our 25 chapters back. But I told him, lesson learned here is, please let's back up elsewhere. Send to me every chapter you finish. Don't wait for them to pile up. So as we got this medal, I was like, it was one of those medals, like how David says, he pulled it out of the paws of the lion and the jaws of the bear, and he managed to succeed. So this was an award that came by really hard work, but we also learned through it. And as you can see, worldwide, there are not very many people who did it, because these are the only people who did it. And when you do it, you actually do get your gold medal award. But it's beyond the awards. The seed has been planted in you, just like we see Busingye didn't find a problem with recording it again because he knew it all through. This other photo was him. They were doing dress rehearsals of their uniforms. They kind of had many uniforms to see whether they would fit. His other mom, his aunt was there, and so he took a photograph. She was so proud of him. So yeah, that is a photo for that. So we get into my next slide. My next slide is to do with the student event selection. And maybe just to guide you through, we really struggled with selecting events. So we went into month 3 when we are still dropping events, picking up new ones, dropping them, picking up new ones. We wasted a lot of time at that point, but then I learned the art of picking these by continuously studying what other people were doing. So in total, we have over 140 events, but they are kind of like collapsed into these 5 categories. There is music. Under music, we will find the vocals, and even under vocals, you'll find like many other categories like solo presentations, trio, duets, quartet, large group, small group. So there are so many things under that music category. And what I would advise, if someone is really strong, like let's say vocally in music, then one of your activities can be a solo presentation. You can also maybe be in a duet or in a large or small group ensemble. I could see some people would pick what they're strong, where they have their strength, and they would pick like 5 activities out of there. And because they practice, they would even get medals in all those. Then they go in let's say drama. If drama is your thing, then there are also many under drama. So you can pick many under there. If athletics is your thing, you can do the 200-meter dash, you can do the relay, you can do a 400-meter dash, all those activities. And then you concentrate on those. So already maybe you have some in music, like 4, you have some 3 under athletics, under arts, under academics. So if I had known this, then I would have known that, well, Busingye is strong in instruments, he can do guitar, like Busingye did under music, he did the large group instrumental ensemble where they got the gold. Then he also did that solo piano thing. He did 2 activities there, but maybe he could have gotten into a duet or instrumental, anything. So there wouldn't have struggled so much. But he also was very strong in academics. He wrote a short story. I think it was the only medal Uganda got. He went into the Scribe Award. He did the Golden Apple I talked about. I'll also talk about those much later in other slides. So I thought I would expound much on this events list. And yeah, so that is it for the events. This photo here is also very iconic. This first photo is as the boys, that was after the 1,600 meter relay, where we won gold. I'm sure when you are watching the videos, you'd hear Nshuti, Shalom, Jesse. So those guys really did many. They participated in the 200, in the 400. They kind of played around with their running gifts and kind of did many activities there. Some students went away with like 10 medals. At least if you knew how to choose your activities right, you really managed to scoop quite many medals. So just to talk more about these 1,600 meter golden boys, there is one called Shalom, Eminent, Emong. So the dad was telling us that he did share the link of the award ceremony on the family page. And so Shalom's dad was watching, and for him, the highlight of the event was hearing his name, which is Emong, which is also his grandson's name, Emong. So when he had his name being read on a platform on American soil, and they were reading his name for an award, he burst out into tears. He said, "Never in all our generations has my name ever been spoken in a powerful nation. it is my grandson who's bringing me this pride. So, you know, you hear such things and then goosebumps run down your body. It was very emotional for everybody. That is just one of the testimonies we had. But I'm sure everyone out there where they were feeling proud. My cousin who took Busingye's earlier photo, I showed you when he had Busingye's name, she jumped. She literally said, I almost bumped the television. I was so excited. So there was excitement all over. So in this other photo, these are the boys that did this. This was a 400-meter dash. That was the team, our team that had Caleb, had Samuel, Taffy. They were in third place. They won third place. They really put on a heated fight. They did well. My next slide is maybe just what the students, a message to the students. What I can tell you is this event for us, the preparations took like 8 months. We started off we started preparing for the event in July 2023. It took 8 months, but then you had to plan your calendar because somehow your pacework has to go on as you plan for these events also. So you have to plan your calendar right. What Busingye told me, he learned to sacrifice his weekends, watching those football matches, put them aside so that he can concentrate on this. So you really have to put away those other things that keep you busy, but they don't really get you anywhere, so that you fill up that time with preparing for more important things. So yes, you have to plan your calendar and plan your targets. You have to seek godly advice. Actually, this journey is a very tough journey if you're going to give it all your time. Like when you go to scribing, some of these people had to scribe in the night. You would kind of wake up and find lights on and people are scribing. And this you could hear all other parents say, oh my God, my child slept late. But eventually when you hear how the children eventually loved and appreciated this journey, it was one of those journeys. So if they weren't probably seeking godly counsel, they could have dropped it along the way. And also, besides them scribing, you could see that a seed was developed. Later on, I'll talk about describing and how it impacted Elisha. Let me just unpack it at that point. The other thing is we really need to practice. Like how I mentioned, the piano coach said this piece, we need a minimum of 6 hours a day, but that's maybe because we got in really late. But even then, I would see them before that, they would practice their piece, like at least 2 hours every day. They had to be practicing before we knew we're on the wrong track. At least every day, after school, he would put in 2 hours to practice just the piano. Then, of course, on other days, you put in other practices. So there is a lot of practice that is needed for us to get to that level of success. And this does not only end with conventions. Somehow, this habit is inbuilt in you and it will continue. Then you have to pray, dedicate your performance to the Lord. That is very key. I saw this happening, and even at the very end of convention, maybe I'll just mention how the Lord came through when we thought it was all done and dusted. The enemy still popped his head up, but I'm sure it's the prayers that we kept putting in that eventually saw us through. So the other that maybe I'll tell the students, make sure in each and everything you give your best, do your best, don't leave any energy behind, just do your best. This other bullet of let your area of strength determine your events. That one I've already talked about. Make sure you stretch yourself in those areas where you feel you're very strong. If you're very strong in instrumental, try and take up as many activities that fall under instrumental. If you're very strong in athletics, make sure still you take up many activities. Don't just do a relay. Just do as many as you can under there. Then what counts most is have confidence. And yeah, have confidence and as you get into this. So that was a message to the students. This here is another team. Those were the athletes. And those are some of the people. These people did almost all the races. They did the dashes. That's why you kept hearing the same names. Anna, Marie. So they kind of made sure they are in the 200, they're in the 400, they're on the 1600. In some, they won gold. That is first place. In some, they came third. In some, So now this is the team of the girls. These are the rappers I was talking about that didn't seem to be so appropriate, but that is maybe one of the guidelines that is given. But inside they have very comfortable shorts. Even these rappers are very flexible. You can stretch and run and don't feel like you're hindered in any way. So this is the team of Uganda, the girls, and these American girls who are posing with them. So this is the slide that will get you into first place. These are assured first place medals. There is no second place, there is no third place, there is no any other place apart from first place. And these need to be done within 9 months before the deadline. So usually you begin on them on the 1st of June, and it will give you 9 months to do them. But like I said, you have to make sure you plan yourself better. Make sure you don't even take the entire 9 months. Make sure maybe you take like at most 5 or 6 months to complete, so that the remaining months you're able to concentrate on other things. Team Uganda did scribe. At least Auntie Joyce made sure that every person on the team does the scribe award, where you handwrite the entire New Testament by hand. And she had many reasons as she why she told the team. Number one, she knew it was a way of them maybe for the word to get engraved in the children. But then it was also a way whereby if someone has gone, if it's an assured goal, you'd actually, at least the entire team would have goals. No one would come back saying, I didn't get anything. So everyone scribed, even those people that actually never got the visas, they had also scribed. Maybe to just take you back a little more about the children that were denied the visas. We had 19 children whose visas were denied. They were very, very gifted children. Some of them play on the national team in different aspects. So it was a very sad moment that they never made it. But by the time they were rejected, they had almost finished all the activities that they had to do, handed them in. So scribe award is a must. It was never a must before for Auntie Joyce, and it's never a must for anyone going. But for Auntie Joyce, she finds it's very key, building the student up spiritually. It's a very good thing, and she says that's why she made sure everyone does it. Down here, other activities that can surely get you a gold are the Christian Soldier Award. This one, you memorize those books, Romans, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians. So Busingye did that. I asked him why he did it. He told me after he scribed, he really knew, he kind of knew these books like 50%, he knew them. So he said, I found it so easy to memorize them because I had scribed them. So the memorizing didn't come off hard. It was one of those things that he found easy. And that already tells you that the word through scribing had already been planted in him. And he says actually he found it harder to memorize Proverbs, which he had not scribed, than memorizing these other books. So here he also got an assured goal because you really do get it. Then the other is Christian Worker Award. Those are the many books you have to memorize, but because they are shorter, that's why they seem many. The Golden Apple Award, I've already talked about that one, is the book of Proverbs. Then there's the Golden Lamp Award, the Golden Harp Award. And surprisingly, these children really memorize these books and they really know them off head. So yeah, that is about I'm not so sure whether there are others that are assured first places, but at least these ones are the ones right now that I know of. This here is soccer kick. The first boy there is Samuel. Samuel, I think there were many people playing soccer kick on the Ugandan team, but I think it's only Samuel that got an award, and it was in third place. You kind of just keep scoring goals. It's not like football, but you just keep scoring goals. They kind of take you through different levels. Samuel went up to level 4. There are 5 levels. Busingye got out at level 3. So that's also one of the sports that can happen. My other slide is about lessons learned. So I've been kind of dropping them as I was going through the other slides that I was talking about. But some of the lessons that maybe I'll just really unpack at this point is I had already mentioned about preparations need time. You cannot rush them. Otherwise, if you rush them, then you come off limping, like how we saw the other teams elsewhere. They hadn't given it their best. They were very surprised when a certain small country came up and they were fully prepared and very ready. Then just to take you through how School of Tomorrow was preparing them, they would share with us a plan for that term in case the school term was running. They would share with us a calendar for that term and which activities would be done on which days. And they would expect the students to go to the training centers from 3 o'clock. They would, because classes by 3, classes are done. So all students will have to meet at the training center by 3 to 5 for 2 hours every day during that term. Busingye was mostly going Mondays and Thursdays. But some other students, okay, you don't really go every day, depending on which days your activities fall is when you go. So Busingye's days were Mondays and Thursdays. Other people were Tuesdays and Wednesdays. There you go from 3 to 5 on a school day. Then on Saturdays, they would be required to be there full day. And here they would mostly do those other non-athletic events like train on vocals, train in instrumental, the group Bible speaking, the one act plays, and any other event. That one Saturday, they would be there the whole day. School holidays were also busy. They would expect them to be there Monday to Thursday from 8 to 4 o'clock. And they also had a calendar. Usually there they kind of had all the activities. Okay, most activities running from morning to evening. So that's how they planned it. So as we prepare for ESC, maybe we could take some of those learnings above. And also another thing I saw as parents, towards the end, like maybe 2 months to the end, we set aside a day where we prayed for the team, we covered it in prayer, we fasted on those very days. Even the students were doing the same in their respective schools. They would also be encouraged to join in. And we would also meet corporately virtually, like at lunchtime on that very day that we have dedicated, we'll meet at lunchtime and pray for an hour for 1 hour to pray for the team. I had already talked about the dedicated coaches, School of Tomorrow Uganda. Those coaches were really dedicated. You could think they're really being paid, but it was out of passion that they would do it. Busingye told me that he actually learned that you can, irrespective of what you do elsewhere, you have to give and sacrifice your time to make sure that you replicate yourself into the younger children. There was Uncle Maurice. He says now, I really want to be more like Uncle Maurice. And you could see he was inspired by Uncle Maurice, but Uncle Maurice was, I would say, was not really paid that much, I think, apart from facilitation and all. So at least he went away knowing I can give back to society by giving myself and maybe training younger people to be better persons. Then another thing that we took away from there, create accountability groups for students, smaller manageable groups. I would see Busingye was in a group of like maybe 7 students. They kind of form maybe a WhatsApp group, but it's, and also leadership is voluntary in that group, but it's mainly to follow up on, so that you don't leave anyone behind. Someone is following up, how far are you with your scribing? Are you hitting the targets? We are supposed to be here maybe we are supposed to be done with the book of Matthew. Are you done? If you're not done, how can we help you? So there are those small accountability groups, small groups that the students created, and they kept encouraging each other. As someone was losing focus, as someone was maybe dropping the ball, they would keep encouraging each other. So those groups are very key. We also had a parents WhatsApp platform for communication, and one of the sponsors, they would pick either 1 or 2 of the sponsors to be able to manage the communication, because the parents kept asking, calling in, but just pick one person of the, all the sponsors are on the group, but just one person to handle that communication so that you are not giving conflicting feedback. So we also found that very key. Uncle Morris was the one really dealing with the communication. At some point, parents are very frustrated. My kid is crying, my kid is sleeping late, my kid, parents coming with a lot of frustration, but there is a way they would manage it. And at the end, we could see parents apologizing, please forgive me, I can see it has yielded results. So yes, that comes in very well. Discipline was very, very key. If anyone got in and they were not to that level, I'm sure they walked out being to the level of discipline that was required of the team. Right there, we do have, by the way, Uganda had so many command performances. Here, I just put 2 command performances. But we had quite many. A command performance is a performance where the judges, remember when you're presenting, you're not presenting to the entire group, you're just presenting to a few judges. There are like 3 judges. They're the only ones that get to see your performances because the schools are many, the judges have to sit in many rooms so that everything can go on and get done in a week. So, but they always pick out those performances that have ministered very well so that at the end of the day, when they're giving awards, this group that has ministered very well gets to minister to the entire congregation of students and other sponsors. So right here was our large vocal ensemble, and there we won 3rd place. It doesn't mean that a command performance can always be 1st place, but at times you've even ministered more than the person in the 1st place. So here we were in 3rd place for the large group vocal ensemble. I think that's where we sang Ancient Word, very well done. So it was a command performance. We also had this, a large instrumental ensemble. Busingye was somewhere there playing the guitar. So here we won 1st place. So it was also a command performance. But we also had a trio instrumental content. That was a command performance. Our group Bible speaking was a command performance. It is very rare that you get all these many slots of command performances as a school, but we got many of those. Lessons learned still, as I continue on that, is timekeeping was very key, and that one was really on us, the parents, to ensure that the students get to school. If they say 3 o'clock, then they should really be there at 3 o'clock. Busingye really had to do a border. We got him a helmet, and somehow he had to schedule his border guy, tell him, well, today I have to be here at this time. At times training venues would change, so he had to really know where am I going to be on this day. Then the border guy had to also come in handy, drop him off, pick him off at time. Most of the students I saw really were doing borders. It's very hard to kind of keep up with this schedule. It's even very expensive if you're really going to not do a border. But you have to also make sure that it's safe for the child. There is a certain student, as they were giving testimonies, he was really very appreciative to the parents. He said, Mommy and Daddy, I know this has really cost you a lot, because if I count through my travel expenses alone, this child was coming from Entebbe, and most of these trainings were at Vine or Friends International or wherever. And of course, if it was in school time, he had to come from home and go. But then he said when he counted through his transport alone through that period, it was 3.2 million just transport alone. So he said, I'm really going to give my best. I'm not going to disappoint you. I know you've put in a lot, and I have also learned a lot. So that is kind of the level of dedication that is required from all stakeholders in this. Consistency is also key. We were told if a student misses 3 times in the entire 10 months, you miss 3 times, somehow you get discontinued, because in these trainings, you learn a lot. It's not only, like you see, it's team building, it's devotions, so they were saying if it's 3 times and it's not a valid reason you're giving, then you'd be discontinued. And we actually saw that this really helped people were really missing for valid reasons, maybe hospital visits. You could even see after a hospital visit, if someone is not badly off, they would still come. So it was to that level of discipline. Diet was key. We got to a point where Busingye was not even taking sodas. I don't even know why we were taking the sodas anyway. So it was really healthy meals. And I'm sure this is and drinking lots of water. They would kind of be every day, they would run. So it was very athletic. That's why you saw on that day, I think they were taking the races and everything, they were not struggling. The making of the payment installments, I had already talked through that. 6 months, they gave us like a period of 6 months, and we knew the thresholds we had to pay. We got to a certain point and we had to ask for visas. But if a parent had not really met them what was required for that point in time to have been paid, you're advised not to really go for visa application. And of course, that kind of also kept the parents in check. You know what? I'd better really be up to date with these putting in my payments. It made it more manageable for the parents, the way the installments were made, and also to be able to commit their child early enough for these events, at least knowing that I do have this time frame, I manage my finances very well. Then the other is one of the sponsors was also responsible for reconciling, because every time you pay in that particular bank account, you would also send a proof of payment. Then these reconciliations were always done. So there were also those kind reminders in case a parent has forgotten that they are falling behind, please pay up. This is very crucial. Yeah, so someone, also one of the sponsors, should also be in charge of following up the parents. Yeah, I had mentioned that these payments we make include some facilitation for the coaches and the sponsors, the money that brings them to the venues, and even in there, that's where their tickets come from, because some of them travel with the students. Some activities that were not handled corporately, a parent had to engage a private coach. Yes, you expect that, like if you need like how I engaged a piano coach, some of these coaches at school do not handle these, so you find yourself a coach. You have to prepare your travel documents really early to avoid last minute costs. Like if the child does not have a passport, then you have to deal with that really early enough to avoid those last minute inconveniences. Like we saw that visa application rejections, also make sure your paperwork is in order, because it's really the paperwork, some inconsistent answers that kind of led to the rejection of these students. This is the group Bible speaking. This is one app that I think Uganda has mastered. Very powerful performance. There were actually more students in this act, but because of the visa rejection, somehow activities just get got over cold. I think Busingye was in this, but most visa rejections were girls, and it was required to balance the numbers in a particular way. So Busingye pulled out of this one. So yeah, but this is the group Bible. It was also a command performance. Coming towards the end, these are the different medals. These are some of the students that were posing for the pictures, holding their medals. Some people really have like 10 medals that you can see there. But yeah, we bless the Lord. As School of Tomorrow Uganda, we got 4 trophies. There were 8. So we got the academics trophy, athletics trophy, the platform event trophy, what other trophy I've forgotten, but there were 3. I mean, there were 4. So just one country alone got 4 out of 8, and we bless the Lord for that. But to crown it all up, this was more of a discipleship, 10 months, I would say, camp for the children. They were mentored in the spiritual formation, in discipleship. If I can say there is anything really, leave the gold, the medals behind, it was this. like Busingye telling you, I have the book of Proverbs in my head. I can redo it without trouble because I scribed. I now know I can even memorize the books of Romans, Philippians, and even me, because I was going through, I got to learn a lot in those books, and I even started doing some Bible studies to my other friends in those very books that Busingye was doing because I was kind of going along with him. So even you as a parent, you get to grow spiritually. These are the first place. Okay, these are the trophies we won, the athletes, the music, academics, and this one, I can't even see, this is what I forgot. Anyway, there were four. Then these are the different medals we got as a country. Because of those events where at least some that Auntie Joyce made us do as mandatory, it got us many goals. We had like a total of 167 first place medals, a total of 44 second place medals, a total of 18 third place medals, a total of 11 fourth place medals. The list goes on and on. And as a country, we got 157 medals, 4 trophies with a representation of 42 students. In total, there were really going to be 42 plus 19 students. So just imagine if those 19 gifted students had also gone. I just do not know even how it would have been, but it was one of those moments that was very inspiring. And that marks the end of that presentation. This here is Atamba. I've been talking so much about him, but that is Atamba. And yes, I submit, and thank you so much. I'm ready for the question. Over to you, Reverend.
Obugalo, obugalo, obugalo. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Anita. I'm sure many people are just overwhelmed with all these comments and all these lessons and all these details. And we need it. We need it because, yes, this is where we have chosen to move with our children. And glory be to God. So some few people have already typed their questions in the chat room. And please do feel free to continue with that. Brian Ahewe, in the event that any question is missed out from the chat room, you'll be able to remind us. So please do keep track of those questions. And then maybe I should go first to make a few comments. First of all, my heart goes out to those who did not go after all that level of preparation and sacrifice and intent. So my first comment is about those who did not go because of being denied visas. And as I feel bad for them, on the other hand, I would like to comment, and maybe Anita, you will add on to this comment. I'd like to comment that the value of this preparation and all these things is not only in the going for the convention, but its impact. It is, and there are other outlets through which their talents can be showcased. Whatever they have prepared can be showcased. Some of them may be at the East African Convention, maybe, or in their churches, as we had. Some of them can showcase, can minister in the different fora around us. But my heart goes out to them. And maybe I should ask Anita, did they go on to complete and get this certificate that you showed us? Because that certificate is offered by our Uganda team, our regional manager for AEE and the facilitator. So did they go ahead to finish and get that certificate? That's my first question, stroke comment. And my second comment is the fact that while parents and students have the choice to choose, have the option to choose events, I have also noticed that there is high-level advice and almost dictating of some of the events by the management of the organizers or the school. A case in point is that scribing, which everyone had to do, a very interesting scenario, but I'm sure there were more pieces of advice coming about the event selection. So that is worth noting, a balance between choosing by the student and parent, as well as advice, sometimes strong advice from the organizers. My final comment is really about the need for discipline, which goes into timekeeping, consistency, diet, exercises, dress code. That for me has been a very hard-hitting one, especially the consistency. Friends, when I wrote to some parents about the road to 2026 ISC stroke East African Student Convention 2025, I entitled that write-up as Enduring Commitment for Excellence. And as the talk about the discipline was going on, I just said I could summarize it in that one phrase, enduring commitment for excellence. So thank you very much, Anita. I think I can now leave the controls to those other people who'd like to put some questions up. If you have a question, feel free to either put up your hand or unmute if you don't clash with somebody else. And after a few, I'll ask Brian to summarize for us what has gone on the chat. Then Anita, you can come back and give the answers.
Okay, maybe as the questions come up, let me also first answer the ones you've asked about the certifications, whether even the 19 did get the certificates. Yes, we did. We had an event at that end when the students were traveling the following week, and that event was about commissioning the team. There was laying on of hands, and so they did invite even these 19 students. The certificates were awarded to them, and just like true to what you said, it was not really about the travels or the gold medals, and Auntie Joyce assured them, hugged them, and told them they had really, really done well, and also ensured that if there is any highlight of the moment, it was really giving of these certificates and also having gone through that gruesome time. So yes, they did get the certificates and they were invited for that commissioning. And also the point where you say choosing or then, yes, you're right. There should also be strong advice from the sponsors as the parents choose, because had I known right, maybe we wouldn't even, okay, at that point where we are picking the songs, everything, if we can had kindly checked in earlier, we wouldn't even have chosen some of the things we chose. So I think, and also we kept dropping some of them because later the advice would come through that no, this would not come through very well, so drop it. So to avoid all that back and forth, if it's done early enough, it would save everyone a whole lot of time. So yes, I agree with you. Over to you, Reverend.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Any other question? Or Brian, you can go ahead and summarize for us what's on the chat.
Okay, thank you so much, Anita and Reverend Emma. I'm sorry I was in a place that I could not record most of the questions, but the few that I recorded from Ian Kamanzi were what caused the denial for the visas, which I believe Anita tried to explain. And the second was Ian Kamanzi wanted to know if the great performance contributes some points toward the students' enrollment into university. Those are the two that I so far have recorded down, and others I will share later from the church as they keep coming. Over to you, Anita.
Okay, yes. The reason for the denials, I'll also go, okay, we did get a few highlights, but not really all of them. But one of the main reasons was about parents, that the parents who were already in the US and they seemed to really not be there. They didn't seem to have legal status. But of course, when you are submitting your documents, they ask you to certify your to certify your birth certificates, to provide your parents' documentation. So you provide all these things. And even before you get there, they've already done background checks on you. And so when you get there and they ask you questions, they're kind of like to corroborate the information they have and what you're giving them. So some of these, because the parents probably went and they had to return, but kind of never returned, it was also a way of rejecting the students because already that was really an illegal status. Then some of them, the answers they were giving were really inconsistent as well with what they had in the system. But I think due to privacy, they were not really letting us in on each and everything. But those seemed like the main reasons that some kind of things that maybe they consider illegal, and maybe for us here, we don't think they're really illegal, and yet they are. So then about the enrollment to university, I think Reverend that I know it is, but I don't really know to what level. So maybe I'll just hand that over to Reverend.
Yes, let me take that on from Lillian. There are some universities which accept credit from this kind of convention participation. And then there are some universities which do not accept credit for that. So when you look at SCE's way of giving us the curriculum for advanced certificate, it includes convention participation and also those awards. For example, this Busingye man, with those awards he has received, he can actually include that in his among the things he has done for the advanced certificate, and for that he can receive credit. However, when you go to some universities, they will accept those credits, but others will not accept. And unfortunately, Ugandan universities are among those which are not familiar with this way of things, so they will not accept that credit. That's why, while it's a yes, but we do advise those who may end up in Ugandan universities or universities which may not accept these credits to not bank on them. But from what has been presented, you realize that these are credit-worthy activities. Thank you. Back to Brian.
Okay, thank you so much, Reverend Anita. Now there is another question that says that seeks to know if there were refunds for those students that didn't make it to USA because of the restrictions and visa denial. How about you, Anita?
Yes. Okay. Once the rejections came through first time, the teams went on to appeal together with School of Tomorrow. By the way, School of Tomorrow really moved to different embassies, different government agencies, so that they could see where they could get the help to have these children through. It was one of those. Everyone really tried their best to ensure that these children go through. So during the appeal, they really knocked on doors and to ensure that these 19 students go through. And it got to that point where I think the help, I think not many, it seems like they didn't really get that kind of backing they needed. And so when they went back for what we call an appeal, they were still rejected. So at that point, when the fight was over, they had to meet with all of us because we didn't even know which students had been rejected. So they met with all of us, and those students actually continued practicing because there was hope that they would go. We met, they invited us as parents, we met, and once this information was passed over, it was a day of lamentation. Everyone burst into tears, everyone cried, the parents, the coaches, Auntie Joyce, everyone cried, saying that, you know what, the fight is over. So yeah, so at this point, the students had to really go off the team. Activities were replanned, most especially where the students were, and there were group activities. And yes, the refunds, once it was confirmed there was no more fight, they told the parents to bring in their account details so that these monies can be refunded. And yes, they were refunded, but they also first asked them whether the students would be interested in going for the East African Student Convention for this year. But I think the paying was too much, and I think either they didn't really get the right number, because you know it even requires big numbers for it to make sense in costs. So I think they didn't get the right number they required for East African Convention, because they were trying to see whether they could use some of that money for East Africa. So when they didn't get the right number, then the funds really were indeed refunded to the respective parents. Over to you.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then one more question to you, and Anita, as you talked about School of Tomorrow, I remembered there is a parent who was asking what is the School of Tomorrow and where it is. Maybe you can have details about the School of Tomorrow.
So yes, thank you for that. This ACE curriculum is like on that other first slide, where I can go back. On the first slide, I did mention that the International Students Convention is a highlight event for the school year for hundreds of schools and homeschools using this curriculum, the SCE Curriculum School of Tomorrow. So this entire maybe brand name is called the SCE Curriculum School of Tomorrow. So in countries where they have representation, they will have maybe School of Tomorrow India, School of Tomorrow Uganda, School of Tomorrow. So it is that office that kind of manages, what can I say, the agendas for that global School of Tomorrow in those respective regions where we are. And so School of Tomorrow is not like a school where people really go, like students go and sit. It is an office that will help, and it's being managed by a coordinator who is Auntie Joyce, Mrs. Joyce War. So she's the one that manages School of Tomorrow Uganda, but it's not like a school where, it's not like Shoma where students will get in. It is like an office. And honestly, I don't know where it is, because I just keep seeing Auntie Joyce when it's these conventions. I don't, but she kind of does the other coordinations, which I think Reverend probably would know, because he's really more in that administrative setup. So maybe Reverend can help me answer part of that.
Yes, Anita, you have done justice to the question. I can just add one or two things. This Auntie Joyce that you're hearing about is an AEE regional coordinator. AEE is Accelerated Education Enterprises, which is the supplier of ACE curriculum in the whole of Africa. Actually, it's African part of Asia. AEE is responsible for that region, Africa and part of Asia. And Joyce's being regional manager means she has jurisdiction over this entire East African region. That is why you will now find that her office is manning the East African Student Convention, because she is the regional manager. And so she's in charge of ensuring that the curriculum is running well in this region. She organizes trainings for supervisors and administrators. She organizes events. She coordinates our work with the main office in South Africa, and of course, the African office is in South Africa, but the parent office, the international office, is in the US. So what Anita said is correct. The School of Tomorrow is part of the curriculum name. The curriculum is ACE, School of Tomorrow. That is worldwide. Even the thesis you receive, if you look at it, it will have ACE, School of Tomorrow. So School of Tomorrow Uganda is just that conglomeration of all the ACE schools. And so the team that went was representing all of us. We had people from Shoma, Busingye, and from other schools, but gathering under that umbrella of School of Tomorrow Uganda. Back to Brian.
Okay, thank you, Anita and Reverend Emma, once more. Now, as Anita was presenting, she mentioned about finances, and I would love to give a chance to Rosie Chimboa, Mame Aquila, to kindly highlight how best we can prepare, how best the parents can prepare for this financially, on top of what Anita has shared. Thank you. Let's welcome Mami Aquila to share with us.
Good morning, Shoma parents. Good morning, Reverend. Good morning, Shoma team. I am called Prosi Chimboa. Thank you, Anita, for the wonderful presentation. And thank you for preparing us, I think, psychologically and mentally. It is such a wonderful thing to know that we can also partake of these activities. And when we get to know in time, it helps us to prepare. I first heard of this convention, I think in one of the parents' meetings last year, when Reverend Emma took us through. And I said, wow, because of the cost, I said this, you just cannot wake up and say that I am going to have my child or my children participate. You should have prepared. So when you do the physical preparation, the mental preparation, then there's the financial bit. I heard Anita saying in the beginning that the finances were quite heavy. And in 8 months, to gather probably 20 million or more, it may not be such an easy thing. But when you get to know ahead of time, like now, if you have your children younger, one thing I didn't hear in the presentation is at what age are we supposed to join in? Because I remember in that previous presentation, the Reverend said 13 years and above for the children to participate. I think it was 13 years and above. So if you're a parent on this call and you have your children, they are younger, maybe years to go, they have 10 years, they are still babies, they are still young, and you dream that one day they will also be participants in this convention. I am a financial advisor and planner, so I love planning things, most especially financial planning, and I work with Prudential. So if you opened up a cover, for example, where you deposit money to gather 20 million or so, about 25 or 30, you will need about 400,000 every month for the 5 years for you to achieve that target. If you have more children to go, then you may need to do double or triple according to the number of children you have in the space of 5 years to go to the conversion. If you look at your child and you say, my child has about 6 years to go or 8 years to go, then it even becomes cheaper because you have a longer period planning this. So instead of paying 400,000 every month for the 5 years, then you'll pay about 200, 150, 300, depending on the years you have for your child to qualify for the conversion. So on this call, I advise fellow parents for us to take away the financial pressure and deal with the physical pressure and mental pressure that comes with the preparation, as we have been told, you can begin to plan now for the convention financially. I, for one, from that meeting, I just said, now that I have the information before me, what am I doing? I just went, signed up my car policy for my son in preparation, because I think he'll be making 13 years in 5 years. By the time of that meeting, he would be making 13 years in 5 years. So I said, let me do this way, and then I prepare for other things the other way around. You get it? So if you're interested in walking this financial journey with me, please, you can contact me. We discuss more, and then you see that you're not on financial pressure during that time. You know, preparation is key to everything, and the financial preparation is the most important thing in these events. Because even when you have done the preparation and you don't have the finances to take you, you don't have the money to drive and move things, then I think you have done absolutely as if nothing, because you do it and you stop there, then what? You get it? So kindly, we can take this on, we can discuss and draw a plan of how to achieve everything, including the finances. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much, Prosi. And I would
And I
request
can
that-
take some few questions if or people on call. I can take some few questions, and we call it a day.
Thank you, Prosi. And that's really relevant and important, because me, I was thinking about gathering this money over the 1 year or over the 10 months or over the 8 months. But you've brought in the dimension of even planning over the years, which is a very interesting and important thing, because there are many of us who would love to take it on that way. In any subsequent meetings where we delve deeper into financial planning and all that, that would be a good starting point. So thank you for that wonderful input into the financial planning. I have seen a message from Jessica Aguti, an educationist, who is saying that Uganda government has sports scholarships. Students must produce proof according to Ministry of Education guidelines. These sports scholarships are very few. So that's helpful. I think this was a rejoinder to the question about what all this means for someone who wants to use it beyond their convention, maybe for university credits and stuff like that. So thank you very much, Jessica, for that. We will look up those guidelines so that those who qualify would not miss out on getting those opportunities. But also, I believe that the reforms that are happening in the Uganda education system perhaps will lead us in future to a point where these convention credits can be accepted. Some of the reforms happening in the lower secondary curriculum, which have happened in the lower secondary curriculum, perhaps we'll cut across and then we will have these acceptable. So thank you for that. Would like to draw this meeting to a close. And so if there are any final questions and anyone wants to put up a hand, you feel free to do that. Otherwise, I'm now making my wrap-up submissions. I'm seeing a message from Lillian, where she's saying Middlesex University does accept convention credits. Wonderful. Yes, as I said, we may have to do some homework on knowing which ones do accept and which ones do not accept credits from convention activities. But that's comforting to know that there are some of us here who know universities that accept credits from convention activities. So as I do my wrap-up comments, I want to talk about the practical way forward. East African Student Convention is in August this year in Ituri, Kenya. And next year, 2025, it will be still in August, hopefully thereabout. And Shoma team is preparing for next year. And from what we have heard, it has confirmed our plans, our vision as the Shoma team, because we have evaluated what we've been doing and realized that one of the challenges we always face is the challenge of last-minute preparation. And so we decided that we will not continue that way. That's why there is no Shoma team going for the convention this year. We decided that and shared with the parents who had expressed interest. We said, let's not go to do the same thing we did last year. And last year we performed very well. So it's not necessary for us to go and do the same thing. When we go next, let's go big and let's go better. So as we look forward to next year, preparations are going to start in September. Between now and September, we will just be engaging students in selecting activities that we may find maybe a week or two to do it in the course of this term, so that from September, everyone knows the activities. There may be a few changes in the course of time, but at least we will know that everyone knows the activities and they'll be racing for them, especially the activities which take a long time. Talk about scribing, talk about those Christian Soldier Awards and Christian Harp, our Golden Harp Awards and so on, so that those can begin right away in September. And we are comforted to know that if everyone participates in the preparations, all those who are eligible participate in the preparations, whether they end up at the convention or not, they will still have gained a lot. They will have many avenues where they will be able to celebrate those achievements. So as Shoma, we will include as many as possible within the school to start the preparations. And we will keep you posted as parents. And we will use this as a part of our tools for learning and growing. Some will end up at the Students' Convention in the East African region. Others will continue to the International Student Convention in 2026. So that is our plan, and we are strengthened by this presentation. We will find a way of getting the slides from Anita so that we can review them again and again. But by all means, this is a great thing, and we thank you, Anita, for enriching us with the practical experience that you had as a family, and also for encouraging us on the road as we journey towards these conventions. So I thank you very much, and I'd like to request two parents to close this for us. One parent will just give a vote of thanks to Anita, and then the other parent will lead us in a closing prayer. I'm just scanning through to pick which parent. Aisha, Benjamin and Miria, are you there? You can just lead us in just appreciating Anita for the presentation we have had. Aisha, Benjamin and Miria. And then, yes, thereafter we shall have a closing prayer and then call it a day. We can't hear Miria, Aisha. So I will go to Kenneth Kana. Kenneth Kana, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, please go ahead and appreciate Anita on behalf of the parents, and also lead us in a prayer as we close.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I would like to, on behalf of the rest of the parents, to appreciate the effort, both institutional and the School of Tomorrow as an umbrella body, for what they have done for the ACE community in Uganda, and for the children in particular, because when some of us got onto the ACE program and brought our children, we were looking at tomorrow. What will our children be able to do as believers in God to develop their country, their community, and the world at large? So when I attended this, I wanted to get to know more. And we are very grateful, the School of Tomorrow and Anita and your team, for the wonderful achievements that have been realized in the States. And especially we are grateful to God for giving you the strength, the resilience, persistence, commitment, and excellence to bring glory to his name, and also to help our children look beyond what we have in our country, but what they can do to impact the world for God. And with that said, I would like to pray. Almighty Father, we are grateful to you for all that you've done for us in Uganda under the ACE program. We know that everything good comes from you, and where we have fallen short, Lord, we know in your grace you will help us to rectify and align ourselves with your will. So I pray for every family represented here on this platform, and even those who are not around, and for all the children that are under ACE in Uganda, that we shall use this platform to bring glory to our Creator, to our Lord Jesus Christ, and that we shall listen to the Holy Spirit's guidance in every detail of education and family life, and even impacting our community, especially Uganda, for the glory of the Father. And as we exit this meeting, may we all go with the assurance that you give us, that you are with us in everything that we do, in the valley and in the mountain tops. And bless every family here represented, and even those who are not here, in everything that they need, spiritual, physical, and otherwise. In Jesus' name I've prayed. And everybody say, Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much, Kenneth. And thank you, dear parents. Thank you, staff who've been coordinating in the background. Thank you, Anita. Yes, we'll keep the conversation rolling on our other platforms. Otherwise, for now, let's end it here. God bless you all and have a blessed weekend. Shalom.
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 Shalom.